Are you ready to get casual? Grab your favorite adult beverage or combustible plant and join us for our roundtable TTRPG discussion. Oh yeah, it's time for Casual Friday. And now, here are your hosts.
Hello.
What up? It's Friday. I am Jim. No, I'm not Jim. Jim's not here, man. Jim is actually feeling better, but his voice is totally gone now. We've used it up over the past 2 weeks. So there's that. Beside me, as always, is Healthy for Now, Mr. Wolf, the man who admits he was wrong, which is not something that happens very often on the internet. We're going to talk about it. We're also going to talk about some cool new stuff. Christmas is coming. We got some goodies for the kiddies. We've got very controversial, confirmed, reconfirmed, unconfirmed, who knows what's happening thing to talk about, and a way that you can get involved not only in your little local community, but to promote an awesome game. Then we're going to do some dungeon design fixaroonies. Dave's not here, man, but we are. Mr. Vincent, the Twin Steel, everybody. Brett, how you feeling, man? You ready for Friday? You ready for this weekend?
I'm excited. I've got plans this weekend and plans next week, and then the following week is Thanksgiving. I'm not going to work much after Tuesday. I'm going to be on vacation. Got a film festival to go to. Got a trip to Key West for Thanksgiving. Yeah, I'm going to be living large for the last 2 weeks of November.
Sick. Okay. Pop quiz. It's Thanksgiving. You're in Key West. Do you have pumpkin pie or do you have key lime pie?
Both.
Yes. It was a trick question. He got it. Hey guys. The holidays are here. Thanksgiving is kind of my favorite because they haven't really figured out how to make it like uber commercial yet. Friends, family, food, my favorite. 3 Fs. 3 out of 4.
I was going to say, wait a second, there's a fourth one
there. Woo, fight or flight, right? That's what we're talking about. November 18th will be a great day for D&D fans because you can get journals. How do you feel about this one? I have a take, but in the DMG for 2024, they talk about how taking notes is a good idea, and if you're running a campaign, occasionally writing things down might be, smart, proactive. And now there's pretty dope art on books to do that. Do you like it? Do you hate it? How do you feel?
I mean, I like it in concept. I think they're right that taking notes is important. I've been lucky most of my campaigns. I have a player who steps up and takes notes. My current note taker, Austin, is a fabulous player and a good note taker, and takes notes with a really good sense of humor. They're just totally illegible other than by him. So it's like he is the keeper of the journal because he's the only one who can read his own handwriting. But yeah, I think note taking is an important part of running a good campaign. So I'm curious to see how they present this journal. Is it just an empty blank notebook with Venger on the cover, or is this actually going to be is it going to be laid out into categories to help you organize your campaign? If so, this could be a good resource. As with everything these days, when it comes to Wizards of the Coast, I am half excited, half cautious.
It's funny. I've recently got to a place mentally, or maybe emotionally is the better term, where it's just okay, Wizards of the Coast is entirely new people at this point. All the people who made me upset are gone. I don't trust that the new people are necessarily the ones making decisions that are going to upset me in the future. But I'm like, all right, let's give everything a chance. I really love the note takers among us. On the player's side, right? As a dungeon master, I have my own illegible little scribe notations that no one else can ever see, and it's different for me to broadcast those out. But a player who's doing it, even better at doing it in an entertaining way, in character. You know, there's people out there making comic strips and character portraits. I've had various versions of this and done my best to encourage it, which I highly recommend Dungeon Masters do. I used to give out like in-game rewards, like gamified it. If you add to this, like the Quest Giver Adventures League guys library of quests that he helped fund, like here's monetary rewards, here's magic items, thank you for doing your homework, player, here's 100 gold pieces and a healing potion. I actually made it like I made roll tables for it, so it was even more gamified. A lot of fun. I've had players do it in character to the point where he was in game finding pieces of paper from different places and ripping them out to write on. So like each page would be like a artifact from the world of the game itself, which was so great. So just like make sure they know you appreciate it, hype it up at the beginning of every, use it as a recap is a great way to just like put the spotlight on that right away. And it's funny, in prepping for this episode, I was like, this is a great thing to get passive aggressively for the player who never knows what's going on. But in this little diatribe here, I've convinced myself that like, no, the player who's doing good, get them this, right? You can never have enough dice. I get it. But we're all getting dice for Christmas. It is nice to, it's the thought that counts, right?
Yeah. And, I mean, to Mr. Welch's points, right? Like you could just do the same thing with a notebook from the dollar store. TSR did make one of these in the 90s. I believe it was like specifically like second edition flavored, if I remember right. And I don't think it sold well because like, yeah, you can do the same thing with a notebook, but I mean, they're trying here, right? I mean, we keep coming back to everybody freaked out when Wizards of the Coast said that D&D is under monetized. So I'm fine with them coming out with extra products, throwing stuff against the wall, see what sticks. I mean, it's better than microtransactions.
That is a very good point. If they sell enough notebooks, maybe they'll leave us alone in other places.
Well, I mean, now that Sigil is officially dead, they're hyped up VTT. Yeah, I mean, what do we have to fear? Like, where are the microtransactions going to come from?
I'm still a big advocate for getting players off of D&D Beyond, or at least not addicted and reliant on it. But yeah, it's interesting. Looping back to the chat conversation, I have bought myself like really nice notebooks in the past, and then I'm like afraid to use them, right? It's like the fancy dishes in a cabinet growing up that was only for when company came over or whatever. It's like, no, I want the cheap one with the weird cat on the cover. Give me the dollar store one. And I will be completely free in my expression within it. Here's a bad transition. Talking about freedom of expression. Dark Sun confirmed, ladies and gentlemen. They're doing it. Again, still.
Again, still, maybe?
Maybe. It's confusing. I mean, I think the fact that any little rumbling about Dark Sun gets hype is an indicator that they should probably do something with it, and they've got to be hearing the thirst for something new. They see Dune 3 is about to come out and make $1 billion. Give the people what they want.
Yeah. So basically, if I'm understanding this right, they re-upped their claim to the Dark Sun rights. Is that my understanding? Is that correct of this article?
Yes. I don't know who is like fervently watching whatever trade reports on this stuff over at EN World, but good for them. Christian Hoffer. There's like two takeaways here, and one is that they let the trademark lapse. So that means it wasn't top of mind. Or there's been such a churn over there and so much institutional knowledge lost that the person who used to send this email once a year wasn't there, and it took them a while to figure out that it had lapsed. They're a big company. They got a lot of pull up the SRD and look at all the stuff you're not allowed to use, even though you kind of can now that it's in the Creative Commons. But there's a lot of stuff that is their intellectual property, and Dark Sun almost slipped through the cracks, which, there's an alternate universe where we got a very dark Sun from a third party that I would be afraid of. But in this universe, we might be getting official Dark Sun material next year, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, we saw a UA that seemed to imply we might be headed in the Dark Sun direction, right?
Mm.
And now they've re-upped their claim on the rights to Dark Sun. They know that the biggest leak in the dam of keeping people playing D&D proper, right, is the OSR movement. And what better way to get some of the old school grognards back and get some of the OSR fans back than doing a good job on Dark Sun. Or maybe this is just their way to make sure no one else steals the IP and runs with it.
Which could be scary. And I mean, no company wants that ever, but especially with the amount of third rails potentially carrying a shocking amount of current in Dark Sun. They probably don't want somebody else to get their hands on it and make. It's interesting. The OSR, as someone who gravitates towards that stuff a lot, it's at least two things, and one is about the game system and things being a little more rules light and less clunky, and the other is about tone, and those things kind of go hand in hand. A simpler character is less of a Marvel superhero and more an expendable down on their luck knave, but the shadowy side of that tone side is D&D's gotten super cozy. I don't want to run town days. I don't love the shopping episode. I don't want the cute stuff. I want a sepia toned wasteland where bad things happen. And yeah, if you had Dark Sun concurrent with new Forgotten Realm stuff, then yeah, you are broadening the base in a huge way. That's insightful. I think that would actually be a very good move for them in a way that a Greyhawk Gazetteer would to a degree, but not as hard. It wouldn't balance the scales as much.
Yeah.
Ooh, Bastara and Birthright lapsed years ago. Interesting. And if anyone would know, it's Mr. Welch. Interesting. Yeah. So they're not giving up on this one.
Well, and like Mr. Welch suggested, and like I mentioned earlier, maybe they're just trying to lock up the Dark Sun name so somebody else doesn't use it. As Mr. Welch pointed out, there was this company called New TSR. Remember when they tried to do a version of Star Frontiers that had this racist content that got leaked? One of the two guys that was working on that actually owns a business here in my town. So it made our local paper. D&D news in my local paper that back then. That was something else. But yeah, so I don't know that guy personally, but I know people who know him, and they were not surprised by the content that leaked for his version of Star Frontiers. But yeah, so it's tricky business, right? Protecting your IPs. Yeah, so we don't know. Does this mean that Wizards is considering doing a Dark Sun release, or are they just preventing somebody else from stealing the name and using it elsewhere. I would say though, if you want something that's kind of Dark Sun themed, the Hubris setting, there's I forget who makes it. There's a campaign. I'm trying to remember I can't remember if it's systems as an agnostic or if it might actually be for Dungeon Crawl Classics. But there's a campaign setting called Hubris, which is very dark, very sinister. It's not specifically desert, but it gives me a lot of Dark Sun vibes. It came out probably 8 years ago, I want to say 7-8 years ago. But Hubris is a OSR campaign setting that definitely gives me Dark Sun vibes.
Cool. Yeah, because honestly, I like variety. I get bored with whatever. Like I'll do a Cozy Town day for a session or two. The better to burn it down later. But the desert on the other side of the planet could be Dark Sun. I mean, Dark Sun there's a little more to it than that, so that's a little trickier. But like a lot of what's going on in this desert hellscape could be just in the same thing, a short Zeppelin's ride away from whatever vanilla thing you got going on. So speaking of like OSRE things and dopeness, Shadow Dark. Brad, you're currently running a Shadow Dark campaign. You finished a Shadow Dark campaign recently. Where are you with Shadow Dark these days?
We're still in the middle of our Shadow Dark campaign. I actually backed Shadow Dark's newest Kickstarter, so I'm looking forward to getting all the expanded content for Shadow Dark. But yeah, this is a cool way to encourage your friendly local game store to carry Shadow Dark. You can go on here, sign up, and give the information of your friendly local game store to Arcane Library. And Arcane Library is compiling a list of friendly local game stores that they want to do a push out to those local stores to support their products in the local store so that you can get your Shadow Dark content and support your local businesses at the same time. I think it's a really great idea.
We are in such a digital, interconnected yet disconnected world here, hurtling towards a Dark Sun-esque universe. Man, there's something nice about a physical book. Like you can tell, I like paper. I like flipping pages. My eyes eventually start to melt out of my brain when I read on a screen all day. I also like having a third space to go to, and they are in very short supply these days. So for literally $5, and then I'll spend another 10 on snacks and soda and stuff. I can go down to my friendly local game shop. So this is a great way to support a super cool independent creator, who's the company at this stage, and your friendly local game shop. Bring those people together, and who knows, because you filled out a form for a couple minutes, some kid might see Shadow Dark on a shelf and be like, what is this? And never be the same again because of that totally not a beholder on the cover. And you can help make that happen.
Yeah. And with the products that are coming from their newest Kickstarter, I just got an email this week about how they're working towards fulfillment on the Kickstarter. And I got a downloadable PDF of all the spells that are going to be in the new books. It's as close as Shadow Dark is going to get to a campaign setting. So they took all the zine content and then a bunch of new content, and they're putting it into new books. So it's basically, a Shadow Dark, like full set of books that will give you pretty much everything that Arcane Library has made for Shadow Dark in one set. And it's, like I said, it's as close as you're going to get to a campaign setting, because if you're not familiar with the zines, each zine gives you a hex map of a sandbox, right? So the way Shadow Dark is set up is you have these, different sandbox. One is like very Nordic theme, one is desert themed, one is very like grim dark themed. And so you can take these different sandboxes and you can run them each as their own campaign, or you can figure out how you want to put these collections of sandboxes into a larger world. And there's supposed to be more information about the deities and to really help you flesh Shadow Dark out as a setting, not just a singular game.
I really liked that. And we were talking last week about the new Forgotten Realms stuff, and I took them. Well, I mean, one is very player centric, and we got into that 2 weeks ago. I'm frightened of what people are going to do with Circle Magic. I really like teamwork and strategizing between party members, but you can exploit that pretty quickly. So that was the focus, and that's the focus of the internet a lot right now, the new spells and feats and subclasses. But last week we were talking about the DM facing adventures in Faerun, and we said some stuff, and in a rare moment here on Casual Friday, I think we have a retraction. Brad, speak on that.
Well, I mean, Nacho says it in the chat. Right? Nacho says, I wasn't impressed with the Forgotten Realm books, but changed my mind when I got the physical copies. Never underestimate the power of formatting and layout. Right? I don't have my physical copies yet, but we had this crazy idea last week where Ryan said that he felt like a lot of these one-page adventures in the new Forgotten Realms book were undercooked and really needed one or two more passes to make good. So I said, well, let's do that. Let's go through and give each of these a pass and see like what minor change could we make that would improve each of these adventures. I made it through 4 of them this week. And in doing so, reading these closely, seeing what I could change to make them better, I kind of came to the realization that maybe I was too hard on these things. If we're writing one-page adventures for a 5th edition audience, the fact that these are like 90% combat based, we as experienced dungeon masters who've been playing this game forever, really see that as a flaw. But for a brand new dungeon master who doesn't have a lot of experience, and just wants to run 5th edition as written, I think these adventures are fine, and thought maybe I was a little too harsh on these last time. And because I think 5th edition really is, designed for combat. So, I guess it's kind of know your audience, right? Like I want these to be different, but I'm also not your stereotypical 5th edition DM who just started playing within the last 3 to 5 years, right? So I think, my retraction is maybe I was too hard on these. And after reading through these and seeing that Ryan was right, it really only takes like 1 or 2 small changes to make each of these adventures pretty good, like good enough that I would run them. I think this is a decent book. Like I would take the adventures in this book and just make slight changes to them to make them a little more my style. But I don't think they're bad.
I'm going to double down and say this is the worst book I've ever read. No, we need some contrast here. I stand by the fact that these adventures are underbaked, and I'm not quite sure what the use case is for like their intended. The dungeon master that's running this needs some stuff somewhere. I stand by that. We're going to do that, and I'm excited about that. Going through the rest of this book, I found the setting guide aspects of it way more inspirational. I kind of focused on the adventures because that's my vibes, but looking at these little snapshots of the locations and the art, I think, was what tipped the scales for like, I just wish it was a more developed setting guide, actually. And maybe we didn't need as many of these one pagers. And also, I'm not looking at the physical book. So maybe just by the formatting on D&D Beyond and how it lays out on a screen with the table of contents, it seems like it's mostly adventures. I might feel differently if I had this physical book. I'm not buying this one. So there's my final judgment on the whole thing. But the Curse on Humble Hill is the first adventure in this book. And real quick, before they shut down our stream for showing this on air, sorry, Jim's not here. We're breaking all the rules. A pretty cool premise, I think. Like, I could have fun. This town is wary of outsiders. So like that right there creates a little bit of a mystery and ambiance. It's like I'm expecting a horror movie, The Hills Have Eyes or something. The reason we learn eventually when this like nice lady comes out and tells us, the reason these farmers are so wary of outsiders is because the last guy that came through town was this like snake oil salesman who sold them some fertilizer, and Monsanto has ruined, they've ruined everything. And weird stuff is happening because this alchemist sold them some it's miraculous growth fertilizer. So like a very thinly veiled allegory for don't tell me politics doesn't exist in D&D. Cool premise, but then it's like, I don't know, Brett, you can pick it up from here because it's a couple random encounters that would help you figure out where the guy's cave is, but it doesn't say how, unless I missed it.
Yeah, it says you complete one of these encounters, and after each encounter you complete, you make an investigation check. If the roll is high enough, you find a clue that leads to the guy's hideout. It doesn't tell you what that clue is. So yeah, it's a little vague, and basically the way it's written is like you do a combat encounter, you make a check. If you fail that check, you got to do another combat encounter, and then eventually you're going to succeed on that check, and then you're going to find the bad guy's hideout. Personally, what I would change here is I would add 2 NPCs. Right, so okay. I'm going to add an innkeeper. You can use the tough stat block if you need a stat block for him, and the innkeeper has another explanation as to why the village is cursed. He says that not only did this halfling alchemist come through town and sell a bunch of this magic fertilizer, there was also a druid woman who came through and was telling people's fortunes. So the priest in town blames the alchemist that's referenced in this adventure, but I'm adding an innkeeper who blames this soothsayer, right? Who came to town telling everybody's fortune. So there's 2 different explanations as to why the town is cursed. And that gives your players options. Right. So now it's an investigation. Which one of these 2 people are the bad guy? And then what you do is you take your 4 random encounters, 2 of which involve mutations. So encounters 2 and 3 involve mutations. And if you encounter one of those, that leads you to the alchemist layer. If encounters 1 and 4 involve like mushroom creatures, one of those encounters leads you to the soothsayer druid, right? Now you have 2 different ways to interact with 2 potential bad guys. Is it this druid woman, or is it this alchemist man, which of these two are the real bad guy? Which of these two are responsible for the curse that's affecting the town? That makes the story a little more dynamic and requires a little more investigation on the player's part. And all that does is it rearranges that basically just rearranges one of the paragraphs in this adventure. The one thing that the adventure doesn't really explain, but there is a way to solve this without combat. If you can get into the alchemist lair and get to his study, I think is what it's called. Is it a study? Is that what they call it?
One of the rooms has like his field notes, which you can, or something. It's like a notebook that you can use. Laboratory. Gaunt's lab notes and equipment can be used to create an antidote to the fertilizer. No further description.
Right.
Okay.
But I mean, it is a one-page adventure, so I don't really fault them for not giving more description of that. But that is a non-combat solution. If you can sneak into his hideout, get to his laboratory, and steal his notes, then you can make the antidote to take back to town without having to do any combat whatsoever. It doesn't lay that out. You have to kind of figure that out for yourself. But there is at least that option kind of hidden in here. So if I was writing that, I would elaborate on that non-combat solution, and I would add the two NPCs, like I said, to make it feel like a few more options, a little more investigation. Adding those two NPCs would be a quick and easy fix to this adventure.
Okay. Love it. One, always have an innkeeper in your back pocket. That's the guy that they're going to go talk to. In my campaign multiverse, the family of the expositions have kind of a monopoly on taverns, and they're always there to explain something. Having the spooky woman in the woods who tells fortunes, who has some sort of divination capability, also a great dungeon master tool to put your thumb on the scales of I don't know how to find this guy, but she does. Go deal with her, and she'll help you. One other move I really like, which I came up with while you were saying that, is having the crazy guy who's clearly wrong, right? All evidence points to this alchemist, but there's one guy who's nah, I'll tell you what happened. And by making him sound absurd and ridiculous, you can kind of short circuit the red herring analysis paralysis for the players. It's not something I do a lot, but it's something that's fun. Maybe it's just for me. Maybe it's not even a good game tool to use, but woo, dungeon masters are players too. I will say you could make this so that there's a non-combat solution, but as written, you got to fight one of these things to get the ability to make a check to get through the stupid dice gate to get to the adventure part of the adventure. And you walk in, you're fighting you're fighting the psychic Greyhus. When you walk in this door, this thing attacks you. It's psychic, so you can talk to it, so you can reason with it. But they don't tell me how to do they don't tell me what the machinery here does to create an antidote. You can just tell me it makes there's a blue bottle off the shelf. That's the antidote. But they do tell me the psychic Greyhus attacks.
Right. Yeah. And to address Mr. Welch's question in chat, I would the way I wrote it out is I wrote a paragraph that I would just completely replace the finding Gaunt paragraph with. So I just took out the skill check part. Mm-hmm. So the way I have it written is if you encounter random encounter 1 and 4, once you defeat those monsters, you automatically find the clue that leads to the fortune-telling druid, right? If you defeat the monsters in encounters 2 and 3, that leads you directly to the alchemist hideout. So I just do away with the skill checks, and in the place of that sentence about skill checks is where I would put the sentence about the druid woman.
I really like the potential like poignancy of this fourth encounter. A young family trapped in their rickety home by their beloved uncle, who's been transformed by the fertilizer into a myconid spore servant. Myconoid, come at me, myconid. You guys, you made it onto the second line there. It's a lot of white space. You could give me 7 to 10 more words in that brick, and oh boy, like maybe this uncle is trying to has them trapped because he's trying to protect them from this fertilizer, and they misunderstand it. Or maybe we got oh shoot, my brain is only going Walking Dead. Help me. Whatever.
Last of Us.
The mushrooms. Last of Us. Thank you. Oof. More coffee. Less whatever. Maybe he's like full Last of Us clicker zombie mushroom horror, and it's like you kill this thing, you save the day. The family comes out, and they're like, that's Uncle Josiah. What did you do? So yeah, I don't know. Just give me just a tiny bit more. Just give me a tiny bit more on all of these. And like, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm greedy. Maybe it's my own preferences. We got Brad here to do it for us. So that's cool. Any closing notes before we move on to the robber barons?
Well, to riff on that idea that there may be some way to redeem these like mushroom corrupted creatures, is maybe you just have a note in here that all of these creatures are vulnerable to radiant damage. So if you drop them to 0 hit points using radiant damage, the original creature survives, and they are healed from the curse. And so that would be a way to put in a game mechanic that could clue players in. So if someone uses, guiding bolts or something on one of these monsters, you could say, you would say that does a lot of damage. The monster's really freaked out. Or, if you roll high enough, totally just knocks out the curse right out of them, right? Because of the radiant, the spiritual power of your god heals this creature from the curse.
Thank you. You've healed me. Unfortunately, the princess is in another castle. Love it.
Right. But yeah, there's a lot you could do with it. And honestly, that's what a good DM does. And that's really why I don't review adventures. I don't do adventure reviews. Because I've never run an adventure as written. Because I made myself, I've run 5th edition as written to really see how it works. But when it comes to adventures, I never run an adventure as written because I'm always riffing off the ideas that are in the adventure, and I'm always rolling with ideas that my players come up with. So a good DM is going to take any adventure and add to it, subtract from it, make it their own. So
I am, most people who know me for having reviewed adventures and done guides for them. And I think I agree with you that you always are like customizing it and making it your own. But like this could be an index card. Like it could have been the first 2 paragraphs on the map, and I would be actually more happy with this product. I don't know. It seems like there's a minimalist version of this that you could have done way tighter and given me just way more cool ideas in, or just season this meal that I paid for, please. There's no salt, there's no acid. Let's go. Robber barons. More. First of all, I'm going to say, because they are pointing you to the DMG for the map, which is a pretty dope map. But the princess is in another castle, and the map is in another book. Hope you bought it already. But
yeah, that's the biggest.
Feels denser.
Yeah, that's the biggest criticism of this robber baron adventure is that the map is in another book. But it's one so far of the ones I've read thoroughly. This is my favorite one, and it's because there's more room for text because the map is in another book, right? So it's a trade-off, right? You got more room to explain things, but you have to go to your DMG for the map. But so yeah, so it's a trade-off, right? You got more space to write, but you have to have another product to access your map.
And I will say, if you are just in this for the maps, right? If you are homebrewing adventures, you don't want anything from Wizards of the Coast as far as what the ideas of the story beats are, what the monsters are. Like, the maps are really nice in this book. The art is really nice in this book. If that's what your main reason for opening up your wallet is, then like, okay, cool. You're getting value in this product. We're ragging on this one for not having a map, but the vast majority of them do, and they're good. I don't think the adventures always or often, maybe ever, utilize the map to the fullest potential, but the maps themselves are great. So if that's what you need, this is maybe a good place to get some official maps, especially if you're like in the D&D Beyond ecosystem already.
And side note, just because I've been wanting to say this since we started this episode, and this is the best way I could fit it in, is that Baron rhymes with bourbon. I was all out of beer in the beer fridge because I usually have a beer during our casual Friday. So I'm a little less casual today with my old fashioned, and it's delicious. Ooh. I'm just saying, I'm really enjoying this.
Business casual Friday.
Business casual Friday. There you go.
An old fashioned is such a madman drink to me. I was in the epicenter of hipsterdom when it broke. Actually, I was a few miles from the epicenter. I wasn't in Brooklyn. I was in Queens. But I remember drinking old fashions with like some guy in like, I don't even know what the shirt cuff things are called, chipping ice off a block, and it was just like, oh yeah, this is a drink. This is an experience.
The inverted cuffs that you have to put together with a cuff link, you can't button them. Is that what you're talking about?
No, not a French cuff, but like it's like a Scrivener thing in my mind. But it's like he's wearing suspenders and he's got like
I gotcha.
It's almost like a scrunchie to like to keep ink off your cuff or whatever. I'm not even sure. Not the cuff link thing, but like the other old timey whatever theater of it all. Anyway, let's get drunk and talk about Robber Baron adventure. Again, premise pretty cool. A little variation on your Robin Hood, nobles who have taken to a life of crime for reasons that you could be sympathetic towards.
Yeah, I like this one. With the exception that the map is in another book and that they tell you to ignore most of level 2 of the map. I'm like,
it's like laughable.
Yeah, why? Like in the same sentence that you say ignore level 2 of the map, you could say level 2 of the map is full of zombies and a poltergeist that turned, or the poltergeist turned a bunch of bandits into zombies, and the doors are locked. There's a poltergeist and that turned the bandits into zombies down there. You only need like one sentence to explain what's going on with level 2.
And unless I misconstrued it, because I've done this before and been wrong, but I'm usually right when I'm like, this doesn't match up. They talk about utilizing the secret exit on level 2. Like there's an alternate way into this place, and it's on the level that they've erased. So it's like, pick one. Like, what are we? Yeah, it just seems like there's no oversight to it all.
Yeah, it took me a minute to figure it out. I had to read it like 3 times before I figured it out. But the idea is that the secret entrance on level 2 and the 2 little rooms that are off of that secret entrance are supposed to be included in the adventure. Everything else on level 2 you ignore.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to read it like 3 times before I figured that out. But yeah, where I would say just lock the doors on level 2, fill it full of zombies and some sort of other, like, use a specter or some shadows, and just say that there was some sort of evil curse down there, and when the bandits went down there, they got jacked up. So they just locked it up and have left it locked up. And that gives you an extra adventure to clear level 2 to help out the nobles, the bandits, if you side with them. And that way you level up to level 2 by the time you finish this whole thing. And then you can go do the other adventure, which is one of the good things about this adventure, is it actually says if the players decide to help the deposed nobles to restore their claim to their land, there's an adventure in chapter 6 of this book that continues the story, which is great. This sets up a whole nother adventure, and that's good. A good adventure design. If you're writing a one-page adventure and you want to sell product, make your one-page adventure linked to your favorite, adventure that you sell on, DM's Guild or DriveThru RPG.
And if you're going to make 40 one-page adventures, having them interconnect in some way seems like pretty low-hanging fruit. I don't think this is bad, but I think, again, it's just underbaked. This map is dope because the coolest part about this place is it looks like there's 2 towers where in fact it's actually one unified thing underneath, and like you discover that, you find that out, but it's not really like integral or utilized. Like I would, if I was running this, have people keep pouring out of this place somehow. If they're fighting and everyone figures it out, then the guys come from upstairs and the guys from the other tower come, and just waves of enemies keep emerging from this place like a clown car, and you're like, okay, something's wrong with my perception of this joint. But I just feels like, I don't know. My criticism with all of this is it feels like you could have done so much more, even in the tiny amount of space that you had.
Yeah. The cool part about this map is it's for me, it gives me like Skyrim vibes, right? The tower on the side of the road that's full of bandits. We've seen that in Skyrim and Oblivion, and I'm pretty sure in Morrowind too. Like Elder Scrolls has done this time and time again, where there was some old guard tower that used to be the border between whatever and whatever before the Empire took over, and now this old rickety tower is inhabited by bandits. I really like the vibes of this adventure, and like you said, there's the whole robber baron thing. Is the 2 leaders of this bandit company are actually deposed nobles who just want to get their land back. And so if you end up role playing with them, or if you notice that the sister, because it's a brother and sister, the sister is a healer and she doesn't let people die. So you could get your ass kicked by these bandits, and then the sister heals you and brings you back. That's a cool plot twist for a total party kill, right? You could, if you wanted to set that up and kind of railroad your players into this adventure, you could throw way too many bandits at them, make sure it's a total party kill, and then have them wake up having been healed by the sister. And the sister says, now you're in debt to us, you need to help us get our land back, right? That could actually set up a campaign if you wanted to kind of be a little railroady here.
And that's a good thing to have in your back pocket too. Again, there's another version of this book where they spend a sentence or two making these tutorial-y for new DMs. Hey, sometimes the heroes are worth more alive than dead. So if you accidentally kill everybody, which is a thing that can happen, they can you can still have a story go on, and maybe it's a much more interesting story now where it's all right, campaign 2.0 Stockholm edition.
Yeah. So all I would change here is let's see. It says the western stairway on level 1 leads to level 2's secret exit tunnel, and the few rooms directly along it ignore the rest of level 2. Instead of that sentence, I would put in the doors of level 2 are locked. A poltergeist turned bandits into zombies. Roll a 1d4 for each room. A roll of 1 through 3 equals the number of zombies. On the roll of a 4, the poltergeist attacks. Now you've got kind of a dynamic level 2 to fight through. So that's all I would change here. And maybe bold the line where it says, if you continue this adventure, use the one from chapter 6 to fill out the rest of the story.
Yes, because I mean, I will admit I was angrily skimming this. But I missed it. Like it's clear, like, okay, I'm supposed to know who these people are or whatever, but I totally elided over the one sentence at the end in the middle of this wall of text where it says, like, okay, yeah, here's the other adventure and another adventure still in another chapter of the book. So, like, I don't know, if I read this thing cover to cover, eventually I would realize it if I missed it there. But this seems like almost like the main selling point of the adventure here. I would put it front and center. Like, this adventure connects to other adventures if you're looking for more than just a one pager that uses half of a map and tells you to ignore the rest. I don't know. That sounds appealing to me.
Yeah. And like everybody's saying in chat, like, you know, it doesn't surprise us that, you know, like WotC almost delivers. It's close. It's so close to being good. And I think that's the disappointing part. And I think that's where my frustration was last week when I was really, like, you know, bagging on this product, is like, it's so close to being really good. And just it falls short, you know? It sucks when you don't finish. That's all I'm saying.
My favorite part of this, and they do it so they could have been doing it the whole time. They're mastiffs here. Cool. Always interesting to throw a dog in the mix. Dude, they keep a lax watch. It's unstable. Oh no, I've lost the line. But there's somewhere where they're like, the guards are probably playing with the dog. They're complaining. They're socializing. They're playing with the dog. It's like, oh, cool. Flavor. Interesting. Wow. Okay, so you can, like, add narrative content to these stat blocks. It doesn't take much to do that.
Right.
I would just like more of that. It's funny. This one got me excited because I was like, oh, okay, a siege, tactical combat. Let's lean into what this game is good at. There's 3 pillars, but we all know that there's really just one central pillar, and it's combat. So I don't know, like Charlie Brown trying to kick a football. I got pumped for this one for a second, but I'll let you cook on this one before I rag on it for too long.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest problem here is it's just one combat after another, and basically you can allow time for a short rest between the combats. But if you do it that way, if you give them a short rest after every one of these invasions of the temple, they're taking, what is that going to be? 1, 2, 3, like 6 short rests in a 24-hour period? That doesn't seem right to me. So maybe you allow them to take a short rest every other combat, which would probably be, like, mechanically better. But yeah, it's just one combat after another. Like, the whole tower defense thing is cool, right? And I guess it's not really clear the way it's written, but is the choice to set up traps and fortify things or take a short rest? Now you have a cost and, you know, a cost benefit kind of analysis going on, you know, opportunity cost decision by the players. Do we spend the hour setting up traps, strengthening the fortifications, or do we take a short rest before the next wave of attacks? So yeah, there's again, it's almost good, right? Me personally, if I'm looking for like the shortest, like, 1 sentence, 2 sentence fix, I'm adding an NPC using the spy stat block, and that NPC has a few one-use magic items, right? So it's a chaotic good elf spy with dust of disappearance, dust of sneezing and coughing, potion of fire breath, potion of frost, giant strength. And this NPC is going to show up after the second wave of bad guys to say, hey, maybe these things can help. I don't want to fight, but I want to live, so I'll give you this stuff, see if that helps. Now you've got some interesting magic items, one-use magic items that players can play around with to kind of spice up the last few combats. That would be my quick fix. My other, like, if I had a paragraph to work with, the other fix here would be to take a page right out of a classic, Mr. Welch, if you're still here, classic Mystara adventure, Night's Dark Terror, where the goblins try to lure the players out of the temple by dressing up a goblin as a small child, and the small child's running around panicked and like screaming for help. And do the players come out to help the child, to rescue them, only to find out that the child is actually a goblin in disguise and they get attacked? I would steal a page right out of that classic adventure just to switch things up and make this a little more dynamic.
I love that idea and have just stolen it. Yeah, I just something. I mean, here's room, right? Here's plenty of space to do something with these 4 low difficulty encounters. You want a more difficult? Okay, cool. Combine them and have them attack at the same time. Like, I don't know. They should be if they're trying to assault. It's the classic, like, movie bad guy. What did we say we were going to do? Attack all at once. What did we end up doing? Attacking one at a time. And okay, cool. It's a game. I can overlook that for game balance. But here's a big chunk of a page where it's like, here, these 2 ogres, they're brothers. They care about each other. They hate each other. They're bickering. One of them's in a dress for some reason. Like, something. Give me anything other than 4 goblins and a boss attack. And then hobgoblins attack. They've got a ward. It's like, okay, like, why? Okay, cool. Thank you. I have the monster manual. That doesn't have much flavor in it anymore either. Come on.
Yeah, if I was working this into a longer adventure and had more page count, I would have the goblins, instead of like the goblins and a boss, I would have the goblins and like what's the crazy eyed tunneling Umber Hulk. Umber Hulk. Okay. Umber Hulk. Right? The Umber, like, they have an Umber Hulk that burrows through and cracks through the wall on the other side. Right? At least have the monsters attacking from different directions. The bugbears sneak in because they're stealthy, and then the goblins burrow in with some sort of burrowing monster that gets them to coming in from the other side. Mix it up. The other thing I would do is, when it describes the final wave is like 6 hobgoblins plus the boss, right? And it's the way it's written, the 6 hobgoblins attack, and then the boss attacks as kind of a second wave. I would have all of them attack at once. Make that final attack completely overwhelming. Have the 6 hobgoblins and the boss all attack at the same time. If this combat goes a full 3 rounds, the players are going to die, right? Just overwhelm them with that final attack. But put a counter on the table, right? Put a D4, steal Hank or Infernale's idea. Put a D4 on the table, countdown die, and the cavalry arrives on the 3rd round of combat. So you just have to survive for 2 rounds of combat against these, brutal hobgoblins who are attacking. The hobgoblin captain and 6 hobgoblins is way too much for a 2nd level party. They only have to survive 2 rounds though, because on the 3rd round, the cavalry comes. You can do stuff like that to raise the tension, increase the drama, because the whole goal of like survive the siege, right, is to make the players feel overwhelmed and make them feel like they can stretch it out and survive until reinforcements come. That's what you want. You want the Gandalf casting the light spell, charging down the hill to save the day, and your players feeling like, oh, we made it. We made it through. That's the feeling you want. And you can do that with just a simple countdown die, right? Just knowing that I have to survive until, round 3.
And it's almost there, right? Like the sun rises, priests of Lathander roll in. Like that's that scene. That's Gandalf showing up on the break of day on the 3rd, whatever. Like it's there. You could have done it slightly more. And it's you want a bunch of low difficulty things, like give me a reason to be talking about it the next morning. Like this goblin has a wand of magic missiles somehow. A bugbear has thrown him over the wall. There's a 50% chance the goblin is pointing the wand backwards. Like you can be easy. It doesn't have to be like, I'm going to kill you guys and that's why we're going to care. I like that approach. That's usually my go-to. But you can get easy combats that are also fun and memorable and not, I don't know. This just feels like it would be a slog. This would take 4 hours and it wouldn't be that fun.
As written, I think it would be a kind of sloggy, but a few changes, you can make it more dramatic. Nacho points out in the chat that there are more fleshed out adventures in other places in this book. In fact, I didn't realize last week when we were talking about it, I only saw one of them with my first peruse through. But each gazetteer has an adventure. So that definitely increases the value of this book. There's so many adventures in here. I haven't finished reading all of these one-shots thoroughly. I can just kind of skim them for last week's episode. If more of them are like the Robber Baron one, where these one-pagers connect to the larger stories, I would be more impressed. So, like I said, I haven't had a chance to read all of this as thoroughly as I would like to. But there seems to be a decent formula here of a bunch of one-pagers, and at least one of them connects to one of the more fleshed out adventures in the book. If all of the more fleshed out adventures have a one-page adventure that connects to it, like the Robber Baron one does, that would really impress me.
I like the maps.
Nacho says each gazetteer has 3 adventures. So, Nacho, do you know if that is if there's more like the Robber Baron one that connects to the later adventures in the book? Because I haven't seen that, but like I said, I haven't had time to fully digest everything in the book yet.
Yeah, this is one that I did not pick this up, and I like a physical book. I'm not gonna read everything on D&D Beyond. I'm sorry, it will melt my eyes out of my skull. I don't know. Yeah, super dope map. Wish there were things going on in the rooms, but if I wanted to make an adventure out of it, I would grab this map Bingo bango. You want to do one more? We got a little bit of time. You want to talk about the Weeping Goddess?
Yeah. I did have a bit of a fix for that.
Okay.
The premise of this one, it's basically there's a curse on this island and it's affecting a nearby town. The priest gives you a boat and sends you out to the island to remove the curse. The way it's written, the way to remove the curse is to kill the bad guy.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. But it actually explains that the bad guy is trying to remove the curse on his followers, right? The bad guy is a priest and he has these Kenku followers, and we know Kenku are cursed, right? So the goddess Shar, if I'm remembering right, Shar has cursed the Kenku, and he's trying to remove the curse on his Kenku followers. I mean, technically, if as written, his alignment is evil, but we don't know that. He's just trying to save the people he cares about. He wants to lift the curse on his Kenku followers. And, D&D has the mechanics to do that. There's a remove curse spell. So the way the adventure is written is you have to fight through the Kenku, get to the center of this temple, and kill the priest. And if you kill the priest, that removes Shar's curse. And that improves the quality of life in the nearby village. But what if you go into this and you role play with the priest and find out that he just is trying to take care of his worshipers? And there's a way to go find a remove curse scroll. And you go get the scroll, cast it on the cursed temple, and you free the Kenku without killing anybody. You could put on the other side of the island, you could have the priest say, hey, I had this scroll. I was planning on using it to remove the curse. The scroll was stolen by the ogres. There's 3 ogres living on the other side of the town. They attacked us. They stole our food. They stole our remove curse spell. Can you go defeat the ogres for us? Now you have a choice, right? Do you just want to kill the priest because you think he's evil and the other priest said he was? Or do you want to go fight the ogres, get the scroll, come back, and cleanse the temple with the remove curse scroll, right? Options. So you can simply do that by saying there's another way, find the scroll, go fight the ogres, or whatever other monsters you have cool miniatures for.
Yes.
Because that's how we decide what monsters are going to be in our next game, right? The adventure says there's ogres, but if I have these cool Etten miniatures that I really want to use, I'm going to turn those ogres into Ettins because I want to use my cool new Etten miniatures, right? Whatever it is. I know I'm not the only one who does that. Come on.
No, we do it on the daily. Yeah, man. So the first, I would like this better as an index card than a full page almost, because the plot hook, the idea, there's a statue on an island, it's crying, everybody's forgetting stuff now, things are bad here, and it is these Kenku, which I find very interesting to run as a DM. I really like the whole mimicry thing. I'm just writing down every word the players say and playing my own Dungeon Master version of Scrabble, I guess. I don't know, but these are the words I'm allowed to use now to convey whatever meaning I want, and do the players figure out what's happening here? I don't know. I love that. But the idea that they are collecting sorrow to appease this god that sucks, but they're beholden to, interesting premise. All right, kill these guys. Why did you need 600 words to say that? You could have said so many other things that are interesting. Cool. All right, I guess. I don't know. I'm still confused about who this is for, and I've been trying to examine my biases, because it's okay, I've got a lot of experience. I have developed tastes and preferences. A lot of this is subjective. cool. This is for new people coming into the game. I don't think it's great for new people either. Like, I think without having like a Brad Wolf to show up and be like, you know what would be cool? This. I don't know. I think it would be disappointing. I think it's like, oh, I'm doing something wrong because I did my best to use this recipe, and what I baked didn't taste very good. I guess I'm not a good baker.
I mean, that's a valid point, right? If this is written for new DMs and it's only about combat, that does leave the DM holding the bag, where the players are going to be like, all my DM does is do combat encounters, right? This doesn't do a great job of teaching DMs how to give players choice and how to, come up with options when the players fail at a thing that the adventure says they're supposed to succeed at, right? So I definitely see that criticism that we're not setting new DMs up for success. On the other hand, as a 5th edition product, it's a solid product. I don't hate it. It's just I don't love it, which is usually the case with Wizards of the Coast content. I don't hate it. I see value in it, but I don't love it. But early on in the chat, Phil referred to it as the OSR fallacy, right? Being too experienced to appreciate beginner content. And maybe that's what we're doing here, right? As experienced DMs, we can't fully appreciate content that's made for beginner DMs. And maybe that's what this is. This is content for beginner DMs.
I'm definitely open to that. I'm doing my best to not do that, but being aware of your biases does not eliminate them immediately. We'd be a better world if that were the case. But yeah, okay. So if I were to run one of these and not be an old man yelling at the sky like a grognard, I would do exactly what we're doing here. I would sit down and be like, okay, cool. What do I wish was here? What is going to make this more interesting for me to run and for my players to experience? And maybe the answers are different for you than they are for us. I like some sort of narrative component that's just a little more developed. And if I'm going to just write a bunch of fights, right, like it's a military siege, then I'm also going to include maybe a little bit of strategy, a little bit of tactics, more than just here's a monster roll initiative. And the great part about this hobby is that you get to do that. We can take this and make it whatever we want. We can file off the serial numbers, pick out whatever monster is the most interesting to us, and run a version of this that makes us happier than what's in this book. And can't do that with a video game.
Yep. You know what though, Ryan? You just stumbled onto your next video for your channel.
Oh.
Yep. The thumbnail, 2 questions that make you a better DM. There you go. Right there. The 2 questions you just asked. What's going to make this more fun for me to play? What's going to make it more fun for my players to play? Those are the 2 questions you ask whenever you read an adventure. And if you can answer those 2 questions well, you're going to be a good DM.
Love it. I don't know if we're going to top that, so I think I'm going to call this one.
Well, just for fun, all I have to say is that the dark cherries that have been soaking at the bottom of my old fashioned are delicious. I know I'm not supposed to eat on stream, but I've been eating these cherries the whole time. They are phenomenal.
I was like, why aren't you supposed to eat on stream? I was like, oh yeah, actually no, that's not good etiquette, I guess. But I was like, you're not supposed to eat the cherry at the bottom of an old fashioned? I thought that's like a little sweet treat after you were a real man and had something with bitters in it for so long. It's like, oh yeah, my Shirley Temple element. Cool.
Yeah. So my apologies if you could hear me chewing while we were talking.
All right, maybe Jim will be back next week to I don't know, rein in this insanity. I've had a great time. I'm gonna go make that video because Brad's the boss. Thanks everybody. Brad, any final parting wisdom before we shut her down?
Yeah, I mean, I like Phil's OSR fallacy idea. Just realize that as an experienced DM, it's really easy to criticize content that's made for new DMs. So let's make sure we're not inadvertently gatekeeping the hobby by bashing on new products that new DMs might actually like. I think that's kind of how I felt after last week, and I wanted to come back and put a little more positive spin on things.
Cool. And I did the opposite because yin and yang, baby. Good night, everybody.
Hey, it makes a good show, Ryan.
Peace.